Thanks for being here. If this is your first time at Kingdom, we're so glad that you are a guest with us. Just so you know, that you are a guest and you are welcome here. This is a home for anyone, whether you are following Jesus since you were born or you just don't have this whole Christian thing figured out yet. Wherever you're at in that journey, you are welcome here. Cool? Yeah? Cool. Everyone agree to that? Yeah. Okay, cool. What we do here at Kingdom is we talk about, on Sunday night, we talk about a specific topic or section of the Bible or something like that. And so we started this summer off with this series called #Jesus is Life. It's like ball is life. Is there anyone here who ball is life? Like for real? No? I don't think so. Okay, so but we're talking about how Jesus is life and what that looks like for the normal human and young adult student, as well as we're going to look at his life to get that idea. Okay, to understand how Jesus can be our life, we're going to look at his life specifically to understand that. So we've done 2 weeks. We weren't here last weekend because of Father's Day, right? Did everyone hang out with their dad? Yeah? Woo! High fives. Cool. 2 weeks ago, we were up here talking about temptation when Jesus was tempted by Satan and how because he defeated temptation, we can now defeat temptation. And then a week before that, Alexa was up here talking about baptism and how Jesus was baptized, and it follows our faith that when you have faith in Jesus, baptism is pretty much the only option. And so the next day we went on our beach trip and did baptisms, which was awesome, but there were some people who missed it, so we're going to do baptisms later tonight. It's going to be great. If you spontaneously want to get baptized tonight, then that will be awesome, and we are ready for you. So if that's you, keep that in mind. But tonight we are moving on in our series, and we pretty much every story of Jesus that we've looked at has been in order. Okay, so like chronologically, it's happened exactly how it happened in the Bible, and so we're going to continue on with that. Jesus was baptized. He went to the wilderness, faced temptation, and then around that time after that, he started to call his 12 disciples. Okay, so that's the stories that we're going to be looking at tonight, and my hope is that we have one question in our mind: can God use us, and how does he choose us? How does God choose who he is going to use? And that I want to answer with the 12 disciples. Okay? So my main idea and my hope that you walk away with the answer to that question is that Jesus chooses and uses the willing. Okay? Jesus chooses and uses the willing. I kind of sounded like I said cheese it, right? A little bit? Alright. I'll try not to do that. But before we get into that, and I try to unpack that for us, let's pray together. Sound good? All right. Yes. Yeah, thank you. It's like nobody's really replying to my questions. So, yeah, let's pray together. Yeah, no. God, I thank you for tonight. Just thank you that we get to know you, get to know your Son Jesus, and get to meet him at the cross, but we also get to see him on the throne resurrected. And that's where our life and power and hope and purpose comes from, God. And so I pray that for all of us, wherever we're at in our spiritual journey and our faith with you, God, that you would just speak to us tonight, that our hearts would be open to what you want to say, that our ears would be open, that our minds would be focused, that whatever's going on in life, whatever could be distracting us, God, that we just push pause on that for tonight. And that you would speak to us by your Spirit, by your power, by your grace, God. We want to know more about you and be more like your Son, Jesus. So we pray that tonight, that would happen. God, we love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, cool. So quick question that I do want response from, just so we're clear. Have you ever felt underappreciated? Unappreciated? Anybody?
Yeah.
Anybody? Raise your hand if you've ever felt unappreciated. Like, why didn't I get noticed for that? Or why wasn't I chosen? Why wasn't I picked for that? Let me ask another question. Has anyone ever not gotten picked? Or not gotten picked? Let's put it this way. Who has gotten picked last for a sports team? Raise your hand if you got picked last. Like, okay, I'll just be honest with you guys. That was most of my life, okay? Like, not until I got older and I started to play Ultimate Frisbee. If we're playing Ultimate Frisbee, I'm generally picked high up there, 1 or 2, maybe 3. But anything else, like, look at me. You're obviously, I'm not going to be picked first for basketball, right? Like, you can just probably guess that. But that's pretty much what life was like for me. But let's put it into a different area. How about school? Has anyone not gotten picked for a school project before? Oh, we've all got, okay. Honesty right here. Let me give you the situation. It's like that moment in class when you don't know anybody in the class and your teacher says, okay, pick a partner. And everyone's scrambling, okay? And you don't get picked. Has anyone ever had that happen? And you're the last one, your teacher's like, okay, you and you get together, and you're like, but that person smells bad. And it has to happen? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. All right, has anyone not got hired for a job that they applied for? Okay, that's you not getting picked for something, right? Sucks. All right, has anyone not gotten picked from, picked by your friends before? Like your friends decided, like, we're not going to hang out with you tonight. We're going to go hang out with this guy. Yeah, I've done that? Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It's happened to me before. Here, let me give you a quick story. Has anyone gone to prom yet? Got any prom people? Some of us have gone to prom before, okay? I went to prom my senior year of high school. And in my senior year, it was like the best year of high school. I had made a bunch of friends, and so I got a huge group of people together. I got like 30 people together, and we're gonna go do the prom thing together. And so I plan it. I get us the bus. I planned dinner. I planned. I don't even remember what we did. We went somewhere and did something, and then we were gonna all go to my house. And granted, in high school and as a senior, I was not like party guy. I was like Christian guy. So the party at my house was going to be like a pool party with a bonfire, and we're going to hang out and chill, and it would be cool. But, some of my high school friends didn't want to do that. So what happens is, I plan this whole thing, and we go to prom, and it's all good, and people are doing the prom thing, and we get to my house, and my best friend who didn't go with us is waiting for us, and we get there, and half the people leave, because they want to go do the prom thing, they want to go party and stuff. And so in the moment I'm like, I felt lame, because it's like, why do you don't want to do the pool thing and bonfire? And so they go, and so I'm like, whatever. And all my real friends are there, and we hang out. But I still kind of felt rejected at a degree right there. But has anyone been in that kind of friends ditch you situation? Maybe they ditch you to go to the party. Yeah. Okay. We can relate. This one might be a little bit off, but has anyone ever had their boss pick someone else, for employee of the month, or to get this special reward, or hey, Johnson, you're going to do the project, and you're like, what? Me? Like, I'm better than Johnson. Anybody? Anybody? A couple of us? Okay. Last couple. Relationships. Has anybody gotten dumped before? Or friend zoned? Has anyone been friend zoned? Hey, if someone in your row has been friend zoned, give them a high five. Tell them it's okay. Tell them you'll meet someone. Lance, come here, buddy. It's okay.
You guys here
Forever alone?
You're the dumpies, right?
You got friend zoned by Ernesto?
I need to have a go.
Oh, pity five. No, it's not a pity five. It's hey man, you'll find her one day. It's that kind of vibe. We've all been there, right? We've all been not picked. That's the point I'm making. Yeah? You guys, we've all felt unappreciated. Yeah? Okay. That was kind of what I was trying to get at. Here's what happens. When we're feeling unappreciated, when we're feeling left out, the instant reaction, listen.
Sorry.
The instant reaction for us when we feel left out, feel unappreciated, is to start to question ourselves. Start to question ourselves, start to question our abilities. Maybe I'm just not good enough, maybe I'm not strong enough, maybe I'm not smart enough, maybe I'm not hardworking enough. Then we start to question our personality. Maybe I'm just not cool enough. Maybe I'm just not funny. Or maybe I'm just not likable. And then what happens is we start to question, after we question our abilities and we question our personality, what really happens is we start to question, why are we here? Like, should I even be working here? Should I even be friends with those people? My family, why am I even doing this? And we start to question where we're at. And I think what happens is it comes into our faith. It comes into our relationship with God. Because I'm sure all of us have been in that situation where, for those of us that call ourselves Christians, we've been in that place where, we read about and we hear about and we see all these people doing like these amazing things. We read in the Bible people that Jesus called to himself, and they went off and they healed and they did all these amazing things. And you hear people in the church nowadays that just have this really crazy kind of faith where they just believe that God would give them $1 million, and then it happened. And you're like, okay, what about me? Where's my $1 million? And we start to question our relationship with God when we don't feel like we're being picked. We don't feel like we're being chosen. We don't feel like we're appreciated. So then, once we start questioning our relationship with God, then everything goes kind of haywire. We don't really know what's going on in our life. And then we start to doubt if we're really supposed to be here. Quick story, I'm going to make this like in 1 minute, but this happened to me when I was a senior in high school. Me and two of my best friends were picked and brought on to be student interns for our youth ministry at the time. Okay, something that it would be awesome if we had some students who wanted to just, rise up in leadership and learn how to do ministry. That would be something that you could do. Or for our young adults, getting on the Kingdom team would be something that you could do to plug in at a greater level here at Kingdom. But for me, that was a student internship. And so me and my buddies, we were in it together. So you can imagine what three best friend dudes in the ministry as high school guys will do. They'll get into competition, right? Like, we got into competition because we wanted to be better than the other person. And sometimes it was healthy, but most of the times it was probably unhealthy. But this one time, one of my best friends got picked to speak by doing what I'm doing now. And I was so jealous. I was so jealous because both me and him wanted to go and do the youth pastor thing, kind of like what I'm doing, what I do here, what Alexa does at Kingdom. Okay? And so I was super jealous that he got to speak and I didn't. He got picked over me. And in that kind of jealousy, I started to look at myself and I started to question, well, maybe I'm just not supposed to do this. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Maybe my faith isn't strong enough. Or maybe I'm just not a great communicator. And so I wrestled with those kind of questions and those kind of feelings. And ultimately, he did his message. It was awesome. And then later, a few months later, I got to do one myself, and it was great. And now I'm here. Like I didn't bow out because of those questions, but I was close. And what happens is, anytime something like that happens in my life, I still go back to that. I still start to question myself and question my faith and question my relationship with God and question if He is really able to use me. And so maybe you can relate with that. I don't know where you're at tonight, but maybe you can relate with this question. Maybe you've thought of this question before. Can God use me? Can God use me? Would He want to? And can He? Well, that's what I want to answer tonight. And I'm going to answer that by, like I said earlier, looking at who Jesus chose to follow Him. Okay? We're going to be looking at these guys called the 12 disciples. Has anyone ever heard of the 12 disciples? Can anyone name all 12?
Oh. No.
Anybody? You'll always forget like these 3 that you never hear about. But I'll name them for you. You want to try? Judas. Yep. The most famous one.
Not Peter.
Peter.
Matthew.
Matthew.
There's 12.
Simon.
Is Peter.
There's 2 Simons. There's 2 Simons.
Okay. So there's 5 now?
You have 4.
Okay.
My invisible watch is saying you need to hurry
It
up.
starts with an N. No.
There is one that starts with an N.
Yeah?
But I'm going to keep going.
Nehemiah.
Nope.
Jeremiah.
Nope, those are prophets.
No.
Not Nehemiah.
James and John.
James and John. Alright, well, let's do a crowd. We'll do as a crowd. Barnabas is later. I'm talking about the 12.
Luke, Mark, Matthew.
Luke is not one.
Matthew,
Matthew,
John.
we already got.
Nathaniel.
Mark.
Huh?
Nathaniel.
Nathaniel, very good.
Oh my gosh.
There's your N. Nope, Luke is actually not an apostle.
No, not Did we say Mark?
Mark is not an apostle.
2 Peters.
Apostle.
I'm gonna get there.
Oh, okay.
Disciple, yeah. Anybody? No more?
Oh, I don't.
I'll tell you the one that you guys are gonna forget. His name is Bartholomew. You
Oh!
guys are gonna forget that one for sure.
That was one I was
But there's actually 2 James. Technically, there's 3 James. Actually,
Oh my God.
no, yeah. Got Simon, got Judas. You forgot Thomas.
I said
Philip and
Thomas.
Andrew.
I said Thomas.
But we'll get to them. Okay.
I
We'll get to
forgot
them.
Philip. What?
Yeah. Okay, so these 12 men that Jesus picked to be His disciples, His 12 disciples, also known as 12 apostles. So let me just do the differences between those 2 real quick. Disciple means learner. Okay, you might want to write that down. Oh, by the way, there's note cards in the back of your chairs if you want to take notes. I always forget.
Yeah.
But disciple means learner. Okay? So the art of a disciple is, okay, let's just say let's say Ryan is a carpenter, okay? And he knows how to build tables and chairs and all that stuff. Mike, you're a carpenter for real, aren't you?
Staging carpenter.
Okay, so Mike's a carpenter, and I'm going to go and I'm going to say, okay, Mike, can I be your disciple? And he says yes. Okay, so I just committed however long it takes for me to learn his trade. That could be 10 years. That could be 1 year. Okay? But what happens is I go and I say, okay, how do you build a chair? And he does it, and I say, okay, I write it down, and I take that, and that's how I take that in, and that's me being a disciple, and I say, okay, how would you build a table? And he'll say, blah, 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 this is how you do it. And I'm like, okay, and I'll write that down, and I'll bring that into my knowledge, okay? And that's me being his disciple until eventually I've learned the trade of carpentry. Make sense? Yeah. Pretty simple? Okay, that's disciple. Apostle means to be sent out, okay? Sent out. So what happens with the disciples is Jesus has this following, this huge following of disciples, more than 12, okay? And we're going to read how he picks the 12 in a second. But he picks the 12, and he takes them from being just disciples, and he makes them apostles. Okay? And that's going to tie later into the end of my message. So that's key for you right now. But they were learners, and then they get sent out. Pretty simple, right? Okay. So, these 12 guys, first thing that you need to know about them is they walked and did life with Jesus for 3 years. Okay? They did life with Jesus for 3 years. Okay, so that's like saying, okay, Preston, you, me, Ernesto, and JC, we're going to go and we're going to travel America for 3 years. Okay, and I'm going to do stuff, and I'm going to teach you, and you're going to do the same stuff. That's what they did. Okay, 3 years, and they didn't have cars; they walked everywhere. Okay, so you know when you walk with someone for a really long time, there's really all you can do but talk, right? So you got to imagine the life. And just the depth of like knowing each other that they had, right? So they had that going on, okay? But they messed up, they made mistakes, and they didn't start off as these amazing guys, okay? Let me ask you this: if you were going to like try and teach Las Vegas a simple message like recycling, okay? You want to teach everyone to recycle. It's a good thing, right? We all like to recycle. Maybe not all of us, but it's good. Let's say you want to teach Las Vegas how to recycle. What you're going to do to do this well is you're going to get probably the best people that know recycling, right? You're going to get the best people that know how to recycle and know how to communicate how to recycle. And know how to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Give it to me, somebody. What's the word? Anybody? Nobody knows. Challenge. Huh? No. Inspire, there it is. Thanks, guys. You did so well. You want to find the person that can inspire people to recycle. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that's what you would do. If you were going to go do that, you get like the 10 best recycling people that you know. Okay? That's like the opposite of what Jesus does. Jesus gets the best 12 guys at being uneducated, untrained, unholy, underqualified, difficult, doubtful, underappreciated, messed up guys. That's what he does. He gets the worst of the worst. Now you would think, Jesus, that's kind of dumb. If you want to do something really great and radically change the world, you might not want to pick the worst of the worst. You might want to pick the best of the best, but that's not what he does. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to actually look at the calling of the 12 apostles, and then I'm going to share with you 4 texts and 4 truths that go with those texts to really drive my main idea home. So let's do that real quick. We're going to go to Mark chapter 3. Now, you guys had said Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John as apostles. So let me just break down what we're going to read. We're going to read one of the Gospels, and we're going to read a couple of the other ones. But there are 4 books in the New Testament at the front, and then there's a bunch of other ones, but I'm just talking about those 4 in the front for a second. Those 4 in the front are called the Gospels, okay? You guys say Gospels.
Gospels.
So I know you're with me, okay? They're Matthew, say Matthew.
Matthew.
Mark. Luke. John. Okay? John is the only disciple. The Matthew who wrote the book of Matthew is not the Matthew that we have here, okay? The Mark that wrote the book of Mark is actually the scribe for Peter, the apostle. Okay, so Peter told John Mark is his name. John Mark, write all this down, and that's where we get the book of Mark. Luke is a doctor who walked and did life with Paul. So he wasn't actually in this, but he just wrote down all the accounts of everyone that was around during the time of Jesus. Yeah? And then John is the actual disciple. He was there, and he was an apostle. He wrote it down as well. Okay, so just so you know, in case someone quizzes you on the street, you have an answer to that, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Mark chapter 3. Written by a guy who knew Peter. Peter's scribe. Okay, so you can kind of understand where this is coming from. And so, talking about Jesus, Jesus has this massive following with him. He went up on the mountain and called to him those whom he, what? Desired. Okay? We're going to come back to that. And they came to him. And he appointed 12, whom he also named apostles. Now, just real quickly, the determining factor for an apostle, because you didn't mention Barnabas, there are 14 total apostles. No, I'm sorry, scratch it. 16. Yeah, 16 total apostles, okay? The qualification of an apostle is one, you had to be called by Jesus, and two, you had to see his resurrected, glorified body, okay? So, we see the first 12, they witnessed that, okay? They get called. And then later, we have Matthias is an apostle, we have Barnabas, we have Paul, and we have James, the brother of Jesus. Those are the only other guys called apostles in the Bible. Okay? Quick thing real about that. So, that they might be with him, and he might send them out to preach and have authority to cast out demons. And he appointed the 12. So here they are. Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter. James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, to whom he gave the name, who wants to try and pronounce that?
Boanerges.
Boanerges, sure. Okay? Which means, that is, sons of thunder. That's a pretty cool name. That'd be pretty cool to be called. I don't know what that means, honestly. So, anyone? Okay. Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew, there's that guy, and Matthew and Thomas and James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, which is also considered to be Nathaniel. Okay? So Thaddeus and Nathaniel, they have the same person, different names in different books. Okay? And Simon the Zealot. Zealot means like a revolutionary. So like, just think of like the guy on Facebook doing political rants. Okay, that's that guy. And Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. Okay? So, odd bunch of names, and we're going to look at what each of them kind of did. Well, not each of them, but most of them, what kind of people they were, just so you can get the idea. But here's what I'm going to prove based off of these guys' accounts. Jesus chooses and uses the willing. That's what I said at the beginning. Jesus chooses and uses the willing. Okay, that's what we're about to see. So, jump back a chapter backwards in Mark to Mark 2, 13 through 18. Okay? So this is Jesus. He went out again beside the sea, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he was teaching them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. So, sorry, go back real quick. So, it wasn't like he just went to the tax booth and was like, "Hey, come with me, man." That's not what happened. You see, he was teaching. So, Levi hears the teaching of Jesus and wants to go. So he's willing. Jesus calls him and he gets up. He rose and he followed him. Okay? Now go ahead to the next part. And as he reclined at a table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners were reclining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. And the scribes and the Pharisees, when they saw that he was sitting with sinners and tax collectors, said to his disciples, "Why does he eat?" Where am I at? Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners? And when Jesus heard it, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but sinners." So here is where we get the idea that Jesus is going to choose you, and he's going to use you no matter how messed up you are. Jesus is going to choose you, and he's going to use you no matter how messed up you are. No matter what sin you're struggling with right now. I know a lot of Christians that won't go farther in their faith or step up and lead or serve in the capacity that they're supposed to because they're so tied back because of their sin. And they think, well, I have to deal with these sins and I have to become holy before I can go out and do things. But Jesus is with these tax collectors, and if you don't understand how gross a tax collector was in that time, they were like betraying the nation of Israel. See, the nation of Israel was under Roman authority, and Rome was a hard master, and they were really brutal to their people. And so they collected taxes like crazy. And so if you were a tax collector, you were betraying your people. You were as good as being a Roman. And so that's how the Jews at the time viewed a tax collector, and that's who Jesus called, Levi, the tax collector. He calls him and he renames him Matthew. But he's messed up. Doesn't matter. Matthew was willing, and he went and he followed. Cool? So no matter how messed up you are, Jesus will choose you and use you. Okay? So let's go to Mark 1, 16 through 20. So just one more chapter backwards. I'm going to read it in here. So Mark 1, 16 through 20. And passing alongside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon, which is Peter, not Simon the Zealot, Simon Peter, and Andrew, the brother of Simon, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And Jesus said to them, "Follow me, and I will make you become fishers of men." And immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on a little farther, he saw James, the son of Zebedee, and John, his brother, who were in their boat mending the nets, and immediately called them. And they left their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired servants and followed him. Now, just so you know, again, they heard Jesus' teaching. In fact, it's argued that they were following Jesus kind of already for a year. But this was a time where they went back to work, and Jesus said, okay, now's the time where I'm calling you, and we're going to go do the ministry. So he's saying, come and follow me. And you can see their willingness to get out of the boat. And so for John and James to leave their father behind, it wasn't even like, well, let me fix this and let's get into shore and then tie this up and make sure it's all nice and clean. It wasn't that. It was like, okay, I'm going to get out of this boat right now and swim to you and we're going to go. Like, they were willing. Now, I don't know any modern day like fishermen that just fish, but you can understand in this time, if you're a fisherman, that's all you know. Your dad was a fisherman, his dad was a fisherman, his dad was a fisherman, and all you know is how to fish. So you don't know the Old Testament laws, you don't know the prophets, the prophecies that you're going to have to know because Jesus is going to fulfill. Like, they don't know anything. They're just fishermen. And Jesus called them. He chose them, and he's going to use them, and they're willing. So Jesus chooses and uses you no matter how uneducated you are. No matter how uneducated you are, Jesus will choose and use you. I'm not going to say his name, but I heard a guy yesterday say, I would go tell them about Jesus, but I don't know what to say. That's okay. You don't have to know what to say. You don't have to know everything about the Bible. You just have to be willing to hear from Jesus. Jesus will speak to you. The Spirit will bring to you. And that might just be, I don't know what I'm saying, and you just go as best you can. It's about being willing, not about having all the knowledge. All right. Now we're going to the book of John. John 1:45 through 50. We're going to speed this up a little bit. John chapter 1, 45 through 50. Okay. Philip found Nathaniel and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Philip said to him, "Come and see." Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Nathanael said to him, "How do you know me?" Jesus answered, "Before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you." Nathanael answered him, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel." Jesus answered him, "Because I said to you, I saw you under a fig tree, do you believe? You will see greater things than these." So, you can imagine a guy sitting, just chilling under a fig tree. That's me sitting. I'm not going to get all the way down on the ground. So he's sitting under a fig tree, and he's just hanging out, and this guy's like, bro, Jesus, the Messiah, like, come on, I found him. I know where he is. And he's like, well, okay, where's he from? Nazareth, it doesn't matter, let's go. And he's like, bro, nothing good comes from Nazareth. And he's like, just come and see. Okay? So you can tell that in Nathaniel there's doubt, right? He doesn't have all the answers. He's questioning. He's confused. So he gets up and he goes with them, and he's, I'll check this out. I'll check this Jesus thing out. So Jesus is like, yo, you're him. You're Nathaniel. You were doing blah, blah, blah under the fig tree. He's like, bah, you're son of God. Like, crazy. Right? That's a scene. You guys can see it? Okay.
Yeah.
I know that, and we see this throughout the Bible, and we see this throughout the story of Jesus, and we see this in the lives of the disciples. But just because you doubt doesn't mean that you're stopped from following or from doing great things. And so Jesus is like, I had to tell you like this little, basically a miracle, and just like this, I know you have this super knowledge of where you're at, but you're going to see way greater things than these. So if you're doubting me now, just wait. Wait till there's there. But he still calls him. He still chooses him, and he still uses that guy who doubted him. So no matter how doubtful you are, Jesus chooses you and uses you. He can. If you're willing. If you're willing in your faith to say, okay, I don't know all the answers, and I'm really confused about God in this area and this area, but they're there, I'm okay with them, I can still do this. I'm still willing to follow you. Like, none of us have this figured out. If you're not a Christian in here and you're like, well, I need every answer checked off before I can follow God, I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen. Because I don't have all the answers questioned in my book, but I'm still willing. Okay? Last one, and this one isn't actually one of the 12, but it's Paul, and I thought it was cool and really small, so we're going to go over it quickly. Acts 9, verse 3. Acts 9, verse 3. So, Paul, before he was Paul, was a guy named Saul, and his mission, his life purpose, was to stomp out and crush the way. The way is those who followed Jesus, followers of the way. They were the people that were trying to live out and preach the gospel. Saul saw that as an abomination to the Lord because he's so wrapped up in his religion that he wasn't willing to see that the Messiah had come. Okay? So his life purpose was to crush all those that confessed Jesus. Okay? So check this out, verse 3. It's really simple. Now, as he went on his way, he had a mission. He's a busy guy. He had stuff to do. As he went on his way, he approached Damascus, and suddenly a light from heaven shone around him. And that's when Jesus shows up in his life. That's when Jesus shows up in his resurrected body and says, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Why are you crushing me? I'm the guy that you're trying to live for. I'm the Messiah. You're supposed to be following me, and so I'm going to take over your life, and you're going to do this. I'm calling you, I'm choosing you, and I'm going to use you. No matter how busy you are. No matter how stressed out you are. No matter how occupied you are with your life mission. No matter how busy you are, Jesus can still choose you and still use you. So those are the four that I see when I look at the disciples. No matter how messed up you are, no matter how uneducated you are, no matter how doubtful you are, no matter how busy you are, Jesus still chooses you, and He still wants to use you to radically change the world. So here's the truth, and I'm gonna close here. We're gonna make this pretty short. We exist today. Hear me on this. Get this, because this is a big deal. We exist today. You are in this room. You are in this room today because of 12 uneducated, messed up, doubtful, lazy, stubborn, egotistical, selfish dudes who are willing to step out of the boat, to drop the net, to leave their job, to leave their family, to get up and follow Jesus. We're here today worshiping God because of 12 dudes. Jesus used 12 completely inadequate men to radically change the world forever. See, this should bring you comfort. Because there's no longer, I just got to get to this, I got to get to this point where I know everything or I have everything in check. And I'll be honest with you guys, I've been distracted from this idea of changing the world radically because of, I want to get to this point. I want to have this stuff figured out. Like I'm getting married at the end of the year and I'm trying to figure out school and get graduated and I have to work to save up money. And like I have all this stuff that I'm busy about that just distracts me from this. And those things are great and they're going to happen and I'm excited about them. But the mission is still here and Jesus is still calling. Jesus is still saying, Brendan, I want to use you and I'm choosing you and I need you to go out to radically change the world. Listen, I don't know where you're at tonight, whether you're a Christian or not, but the point of this message and what I wanted to get across is that you can find comfort in knowing that not just the 12 disciples, but this whole Bible is God using imperfect people to do His majestic plan of radical life change. If you're thinking, I can't do it, or I'm too young, or I have school, I have a job, I'm busy, I don't know all the answers. If someone were going to ask me, I don't even know how to explain the gospel. It doesn't matter. Are you willing? Are you willing to get out of the boat? Listen, we've been at Kingdom for about a year now. Okay? Almost a year. And I'm excited because, hey, there's about 20 of us in this room right now. That's great. We've been here a year. And how many people have come to faith? And now, I get it. That's not on us. The Holy Spirit changes hearts. I get that. But are we getting out? Are we going out and saying, yes, Jesus, I'm willing. You want me to talk to that person? I'm willing. I'll go. You want me to preach the gospel to my family? I'm willing. You want me to go into my school and talk to my friends and pray for them? I'm willing. Are we doing that? Because I'll be honest, I know I'm not. And so here I am before you and saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to you. I'm sorry to God. I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be about radical life change. I want to see this world change because I know that those 12 guys could do it. I can do it. You can do it. Can you go back to the Mark verse? We're going to end on this, and I'm going to pray us out. Go back to that Mark verse, please. Mark 3, sorry. Mark 3. Why did He choose them? Why did He choose them? It's really simple. So that they might be with Him, and He might send them out to preach and have authority to cast out demons. Jesus chooses and uses us, so one, that we would be with Him. That's the disciple part. That's me being a learner. That I'm Jesus, how do you do this? Okay, that's how you do it, that's how I'm going to do it. Jesus, how should I be in a relationship? Okay? How should I handle my finances? How should I talk to my family? How should I treat my boss? How should I deal with persecution? How should I deal with anger? How should I deal with depression? Jesus, teach me. Disciple, be with Him. Be behind Jesus. And then let Him send you out. And I'm not saying you have to get on the corner and preach hell and like those guys on the street corners with the signs. I'm not saying do that. But I'm saying, hey, can you go pray for your family? Or when you say, hey, I'll pray for you, can you just pray for them right then? And when a friend is going through something, you just go and you tell them that small, simple truth of how God loves them. Or that you would tell your story to a friend who needs to hear it. That we would go out. And that this would grow. I want to see Kingdom become what its vision statement is. Its vision statement, in case you didn't know, is to see, I'm going to paraphrase it right now, is to see young people brought into the Kingdom so that they can take the Kingdom and live it effectively in the world, in Las Vegas. Can we just see that? Even if it's just us right here, right now, can we get behind Jesus and be willing to go out and do what He's called us to and preach the gospel? Okay, let's pray.